Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DeMeglio, and this week I'm joined by Steve and Joe from the Broadway Block podcast. Today we'll be talking about line combinations, and we'll look ahead to the start of the regular season. Boys, thanks for joining me. How's everything going?
Pleasure, man. How are you?
Thanks for having us.
Start of the season, it's coming up. You guys excited?
100%, man.
Yeah,
I know. Like
I know.
a kid on Christmas waiting for Tuesday to be here. We're going to be at the game. Cannot wait. It just can't come quick enough.
I know, right? Like last night's game against the Bruins. That's how I felt every time the kid line touched the ice. They were so good. Did you guys watch the game last night? It was on TNT. So
yeah, I watched it. I definitely enjoyed it. I had to see VZ up there on the first line to see it in the actually believe it was happening.
I had a feeling. I called it for what it's worth. I called it back on Saturday that VZ was going to get some time on the first line because he had been playing well, and he's only on a tryout contract. So, he's not fully set in stone on making the roster. But knowing Gallant, I think he's going to make the roster. What do you guys think?
I think he's the new Dryden Hunt. I think Gallant has a secret liking towards him. I think he's definitely done a bunch. That first goal of the against the Islanders off Varlamo's helmet was a lot. That save against Andre Johnson and the Devils.
Oh, that little poke check.
Yeah.
Johansson,
especially someone who's not known for the defensive end of the game. That was refreshing to see. I think that Gallant is definitely going to give him a look. And like you said, he's on a PTO, so we want to see what we have for sure. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of competition for those last few spots. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a leap just because of the way he plays. He is more of an offensively minded player. And he's shown a finishing ability in his career before, and now is the time for him to really put up a season because he is entering into that like prime of his career. But hopefully there's some continuity, man. I always say it, but I want to see somebody have some like time on a line. So something tells me that we're going to see a lot of like juxtaposition and people kind of sliding up and down and around. If he's willing to break up that kid line, we'll see what happens there. But I do see VC.
I don't think he's going to break up the kid line.
No, I don't.
We keep seeing these other guys up there trying to play right wing. And I just don't think he wants to put either Kako or Laugh there.
I don't think Kako fits on that top line. I've had discussions with people before about that. I don't think Kako's skill set matches that of Kreider and Zibanejad. And then there's also the argument that Kreider and Zibanejad's skill sets don't match. And that's wild to me because they put up so many points together over the past however many years. And, that first line right wing hole is going to be noticeable this year, I think. If the second line gets their crap together, I mean, everyone's complaining about the top six isn't doing well. The third line was just outstanding, all over the ice last night. Easily the best line. Gallant was the only one who said that was the only line he liked, and I knew he was going to be frustrated with the way the Rangers played. But I mean, you're running Hayek and Bartkowski out there, so what do you think was going to happen? It's a preseason game too, but we're getting closer to the regular second to last preseason game, I believe. And, you want to start looking like you're going to be playing during the regular season. So these last couple of games, they should have the regulars in the lineup.
Joey, you know what I liked last night? It didn't connect when we were down 5-4 and there was like 3 minutes left. Trocheck came down the ice and it was like, it almost looked like a no look, like Patrick Mahomes pass right to Panarin on the other side of the net. Panarin missed that one, but I was like, that connection all year is going to be something that I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah, I was so shocked that Panarin missed the net. I think the broadcasters noted Panarin might not have expected a pass like that.
He hasn't been getting a pass like that from Strome or Kopp last year, so that's
right. Right. He was the one making those passes.
Correct.
He wasn't expecting it. He's like, oh, damn, someone's on my level of passing. Jeez, I better keep my eyes open.
You gotta keep your head up.
Yeah, keep my head up. Yeah, for real. But I mean, I think Kravtsov on that line is while I want to see him succeed so far, he's looked nervous. What have you guys thought?
Yeah, hesitant for sure. I mean, you said something about Kako not really fitting into like the play style. I would argue that like his playing style, but does he have the skill set? I feel like his confidence is really shown as like lackluster at times. I feel like the way that he plays the puck down below the boards, really good along the half walls, and his
Yep.
ability to hold on to the puck through 2 or 3 defenders is fantastic. And Mika and Kreider both are finishers that love to hang out in front of the net or in that little office spot that Mika's got now. So I would argue that if he had that confidence, I would feel like he would flourish. But there's this weird part of me that doesn't feel like he's going to grab it. There's this other part of me that, like what you just said about Kravtsov, I just feel like he's same confidence sort of thing until one of them, both goals went in last night, but they were garbage. So it's like hopefully it gives him the confidence that he scored. But I would love to see one of those laugh style goals where he just steals the puck and comes in all alone.
All right.
One of those ones you could feel good about that it's going to be replicatable. But I would say that that's probably the biggest question mark right now is going into the season. Those top 3 lines, who plays on the right, who plays with each other, and there's not a lot of time to figure it out either.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about that. Like Kako looked really good last night. I have to say, like he looked confident with the puck, and he's looked that way pretty much all preseason, in my opinion. And even going back to the playoffs, I don't think he should have been scratched in Game 6. I have no idea why that move was made, and I will forever question that. But I think Panarin and Kako, I will ride that to the day I die. I need that. I need it. But if Kravtsov, if I will accept Panarin being tied together with Kravtsov because of how much time he's already spending with him in practice. I'm sure we don't know if the rumors are true, if Panarin is picky about his line mates, if he doesn't like Kako on his line, if he does like him on his line. But I know for sure that he wants Kravtsov to be the best that he could be because look at how much time he's spending with him in practice, after practice session. That's the stuff
I think he's got to
look for.
spend a little bit more time because, like Kravy, like has he shown sparks here and there, but he's also looked, even with the Shesty release us, like he's looked a little bit uncomfortable out there.
Right.
Like he knows the pressure that he has on there. I think he's only had 1 assist, 1 point this whole preseason,
Yep.
and he's been getting time. So it's like last night, a couple times he had like a couple shots, just shot a little wide. And he's just looked uncomfortable out there. Kind of what we say about Kako, where he doesn't look fully comfortable in his skin. So I'm hoping like something clicks. These extra time with Panarin really gets him going because for me, like I could see him dropping down from the second line.
If it weren't for draft spot and PTO, I feel like there's no argument. VC has outplayed him.
Oh,
I feel like it's really hard to make the argument for Krabby
100%
making the
agree.
team, as much as I feel like his slot is sort of a given. I feel like you can't exactly argue that he's shown that he should be in that spot. So hopefully, what we see or what we don't see in practice is why he's continuing to get that time. You saw that 3 in a row that he just kind of came in on Shesty and just put it right past him in the little practice clip. So I mean, the scoring touch is there, but to have it happen in a game, you always hear about these European guys coming across and playing on a smaller sheet of ice, saying how much faster of a game it is. So the adjustment is definitely going to take some time. But like I said, I feel like continuity is going to be key. Having maybe those first 10 games go by and feeling like, okay, this is still my spot. I'm comfortable now, or I'm gaining that level of chemistry. But
I think to your point that he's the high draft pick, that's why I would have a longer leash on him as compared to somebody else like VZ, who's been in the league for a while. Kravtsov has bounced back and forth between North America and Russia and the KHL with Tractor. So this is his last opportunity. I keep saying this on the show. This is his last opportunity with the Rangers. So he's got to be feeling the pressure. I think Joe was saying this, but yeah, he's got to be feeling the pressure. And I think it's going to take a little while, maybe another 5-10 games for him to start to feel comfortable. But I think it's all mental with him right now in terms of like why he's not getting the job done. Even in practice, like his shot looks like off. He's not getting all of the puck when Panarin's feeding it to him. And there's nothing wrong with like how Panarin's passing it to him. It's just Kravtsov shanking the shots. And I think it's a mental thing because he was not playing like that in Russia. Like if you watched any of his highlights, he's always in front of the net. He's always making an impact. That's his
Very
game.
confident.
Very confident player. But
Almost
right
like
now,
a finesse type player too. Like his speed is his best asset.
the Rangers made an investment. They are not going to cut him off right away just because he's had a bad preseason. He's got to get the jitters out. He has to. There's no way they could judge it just based off of this. So the Rangers have to know, in my opinion, they have to know that he's a little bit uncomfortable. Joe, you brought up how he looked in the locker room when with the Shesty releases thing. That was genuinely funny.
It's
But
so
yeah, I
meme
think
worthy. It's all over the
it is.
internet
But I
everywhere.
think you're right. I think you're right that kind of displays like that comfortability because he's still good. These are new teammates to him. Like they don't know him and he doesn't know them. So he's got to get to know them and bond on a level. I don't know if they've had that bonding trip yet. It's one trip, but I'm sure that could do a lot for them. We've seen what Reeves did to the chemistry of that locker room. Just take a look at like the last year of David Quinn's tenure and how like dysfunctional that locker room was. And then compared to last year, Lafreniere and Keandre Miller are showing their true colors. Kreider Zibanejad are the best bromance known to man. You see people talk about that on Twitter too, and I won't get into all of that stuff. There was a whole big thing. I'll leave it to AK Goudreau to go into that on her future podcast, Word on the Bird. But
We're gonna have her on Monday.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I'm like psychic that I know that. I don't even know.
It's too funny, man.
And she definitely did not tell me that.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, getting back into these line combinations, what do you think of the fourth line? Like Blade, Riedel, Goudreau. I think that's the most solid fourth line we've put together so far in camp. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So Reeves said something. Sorry to segue, but I'm talking about that, I promise. Reeves said something in the playoffs about like not playing every game. And I think that goes to the attitude of whoever you're going to not put on that line. Reeves seems like he can take it and not let it affect his mindset. And I think you talk about the chemistry in the locker room. I think him having that healthy scratch is fine for him because there's going to be games where you want the physicality for sure. And Gallant obviously still uses Revo and relies on him to sort of set that tone. So I feel like Revo is a good guy to be that healthy scratch because I don't feel like it's going to affect his performance. When you talk about a line that you want to put out there, Riedel's shown it. I think Carpenter has an argument, but it still hasn't been, a really strong showing out of him. Riedel's kind of on like his, you talked about Kravi on his like last legs. I think he's 27, so this is kind of, and he's been playing in Europe. So this is kind of the time to show that you can hold on to that role. If not, maybe like a top 6 role in an AHL team. But you don't have that luxury with everybody. You can't send people down. Like Carpenter can't be sent down to the AHL without clearing waivers, for example. So I think those contractual obligations are going to factor into it a little bit as well, and not necessarily like what is the most optimal fourth line. But I believe Goudreau has shown that he can slide up and down there. So he's the given to make it on the fourth line. Barring any injury, he just slides up and it's just natural for him. And like you said, Blay on the left side, I think that's also a lock. I think they gave him that little tester on that top line and they saw what they saw. So
I just would. The only argument I would make is it's not ideal to have Goudreau making 3.6 million playing there. Hockey Stat Miner had brought it up like people are okay with the contract, but people are not okay with the. It's like a cognitive dissonance thing where it's like you're okay with him making that money, but you're not okay with him playing on the fourth line or whatever. And it's just
I don't think he's going to be stuck down there all year. Like,
I don't think,
with injuries, like he's going to be back and forth. So I think that's why you pay him a little bit more. Plus, we didn't have anyone when we signed him. We didn't have anyone like with real Stanley Cup like veteran presence. So like we brought him for that a little bit more too. Over.
I like his game too, and to be consistent with what I've said over the past few episodes, I like that him being on the fourth line signifies that there's a level of depth on the team that we have, and I think it's true. The only thing that I would balk at is just the first line right wing spot, which would be nice if we had Pavel Buchnevich still, but there's nothing we could do about that.
I think Booch would obviously shine here, and we would be in cap hell if we gave him a contract like that. I feel like the same is to be said about any of these premier right wing, possibly trade deadline conversations that we hear a lot, is that the money is always the issue. You know what I mean? Would a proven veteran scoring touch on the right side be a fantastic luxury? Yeah, but that's what it is. It's a luxury. We're not going to have cap for some time now, So that's really the reality of it, which is why it's a fair league, I feel like. But
so that right wing one spot is still too thin, and that's why I think the Patrick Kane discussions are still out there, despite cap hell, despite having DeAndre Miller and Alexis Lafreniere due for big contracts next offseason. That's why I still think the rumors are out there. And so let's get into it. I think if Patrick Kane becomes available at the trade deadline for 1 year, not even 1 year, 20 games, and that's it. In the playoffs, that's it. 50% retained plus the 25% from another team. I think the Rangers should make that trade.
It's
crazy hypothetical, but if it's out there, the Rangers should take it.
I don't even think it's going to be out there because I don't understand what the Blackhawks were doing over the draft. Like they traded DeBrincat and Kirby Dach. Like Kirby Dach's 21. Like where wouldn't you build around someone like that? Like I think they're going to
around DeBrincat.
DeBrincat is the. Have you seen the chemistry so far with
oh my god,
Giroux
and
Spence?
like they're gonna be
you talked about
no
look passes, just right over to DeBrincat, smoked it. I mean, he doesn't hesitate. That guy would be fantastic. Obviously, we're just talking like if we could just pick anybody. I mean, holy crap!
Yeah, I know. I wanted him over Kane, to be honest. Like when he was still on the Blackhawks, I was like, oh come on, Rangers, please don't look at Kane. Look at DeBrincat. Look at DeBrincat.
I'm talking about fantasy, you know what I mean? Like this is not reality, but
I know.
I think we're gonna get someone other than Patrick Kane, and then maybe because his contract's expiring and that $10.5 million is gonna go away, and like what do you pay Patrick Kane next year? Like
imagine he took like 3 mil just to like play with Panarin.
Imagine if he took $3 million, why wouldn't you take it? Why
like
wouldn't
you give him
2
years? You give him 2 years at $3 million. See what
let someone else overpay for him, like the Penguins, right? Go nowhere, second round loss, walk, and come here. I mean, we've said it for years. I mean, podcast aside, we've talked about this for years, Joe and I, about you need to make an attractive landing spot. I think the Rangers have that now, but now we don't have the cap to buy anybody. So it's like we have this spot where we can allure whoever we want. You think about how basketball works and how people just kind of will their ways onto teams, and we've had the luxury of that with Panarin and Fox for sure. But with all that money tied up specifically in those two, but I think it's 65 million tied up between 12 different players. It's like,
yep,
it's pretty astonishing when you think about the catch-22 of like, we've always wanted that attractive landing spot. Here we are, and we can't afford to pay anybody. But it would mean somebody like that taking a substantial pay cut. But somebody who's made that type of money in their career, like a Kane, maybe that's on the table. Who knows how much playing time he has left?
A move like that would be possible if Jacob Trouba's contract were moved.
Is it the player or the contract for you, Joey?
Contract. It's the contract.
Is he going to the Lightning then mid-season?
Yeah, for real. I mean, with Trouba, I like what he brings to the table. But when they made the trade for him, the Rangers needed an established like
number one defenseman. We needed
50-point scorer too, right? Like that was an added bonus, even though we weren't getting him for that.
He wanted to get paid too because he wasn't getting paid shit in Winnipeg.
Yeah, Winnipeg, they just kept extending him 1 year qualifying offers, 1 year deals here and there since like his ELC expired. When he came here, everybody and their mother balked at the $8 million term, the $8 million price tag. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. And that that attitude has lived up. It has aged well. We still feel that way. We don't think he's playing up to what he's worth. The math does not work out, and I think that's the biggest reason. So Kreider's $6.5 million. He justified it last year with 50 goals. So
it looks like a bargain now.
It looks like a bargain now. If you could do it again, if you could do 50 goals again,
I'll be okay with 40.
I'll be okay with 30.
I said the same thing last one. Yeah, that's funny, man. I think when you talk about Truba, it's like you're also talking about not your number one guy. Like the 8 million's fine if that's your number one guy, and maybe that's what he was
Not.
brought into. But
Unpopular take, he could be number 3. It could go Fox, Keandre,
yeah,
Truba.
I
I
don't
think
even think that's unpopular. I think that's an ice cold take.
It is an ice cold take.
I had to throw that in
Keandre,
there.
yeah, I love the little plug line, man. The Keandre sliding up to the top, man, is not a distant reality. I feel like Lindy plays hurt constantly. What's gonna happen when he actually goes down for a week? You know, he'll probably heal up quick. But do you not slide Keandre up? Because what's the other option? You know, like the top four is pretty well set in stone, and I'd probably have to agree with Joe that Keandre's proven himself at least in the future, if not right
Mhm.
now, that he's the number 2 for sure.
I
And
At
how
least
like
in
could
my
you
opinion.
let Keandre walk next year and like have Truba under contract? Like if you can't pay Keandre, like what are you gonna
it's
do
gonna
there?
be Yandel all over again. That's what I said. I think
Except we gave up more for Truba.
right, yeah. I think Fox Miller as a pairing, people would have to run to the store and grab some new pairs of pants because for obvious reasons, because I think their skill sets match so perfectly. Keandre Miller brings his size and the same offensive skills, except maybe IQ. Nobody's as smart as Adam Fox. That guy's like playing chess in real time, like 8D chess in real time. That's how smart that guy is. He went to Harvard,
He's 2
and
steps ahead.
right, exactly, always. And um, I think
Joe,
that
you
would
just
be
said
good.
something that made me think. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Keandre has been stapled to Truba the whole time. Not to say that it hasn't, helped him in the ways that Truba sort of put his arm around him, but imagine the potential that is yet to be tapped into. You talk about the hockey IQ with some of those no look passes that Fox does, some of those brilliant setups. I mean, man, we might just be sniffing the surface of what Keandre
And
can actually offer
Keandre
us.
shoots. Fox looks to pass, Keandre looks to shoot. Like I just could see that buzzing right there.
And I think that if they were to do a pairing like that this year, it should be done sooner rather than later, so that later on in the season they will already have that chemistry that they've built up from the beginning of the season. You don't want to pull like a Mets and like have call Francisco Alvarez up in the biggest series of the year. I don't know if you guys follow baseball.
I
I know
do.
what you're talking about.
Rather than call him up like a month earlier so he could get adjusted to major league pitching and then tee off against the Braves in that series. Like that was just an oversight. That's what the Rangers should do with Miller and Fox. Like pair them right now. Pair them right
Yeah.
now. So that way in game 65, like after the trade deadline, they're just running wild. No look passes, screen goals left, right, and center.
And to be
That'd be
honest,
great.
I wouldn't be mad with a Lindgren Truba pairing. Would
Imagine.
anyone else be?
Mm.
Let the
I think I
bodies
could
hit
find
the
some people that would be upset with that because they're both rugged defensemen.
So
I
not
th-
enough offense, you're saying then?
yeah. I think you could even do like Lindgren and Schneider and then Jones and Truba, something like that. I think that would work because Schneider's got offensive ability. I've seen him play make with Panarin so many times last season. They were dishing the puck to each other left, right, and center. Like those guys work well together. I think if you split up the D pairings, it's not gonna happen because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In Gallant's eyes, that's the way he rolls. The D pairs stayed the same all of last season. They were not changed like a single time, with the exception of Nemeth and Jones or Lundqvist or Hayek and Tenorti, those
Ugh.
guys being sent in. But that's the other thing the Rangers have to consider. On the depth chart, if there is an injury, God forbid there's an injury. Last year the Rangers were lucky and stayed healthy the entire year, except for Sammy Blais, unfortunately, thanks to PK Subban. But that's a discussion for another time. But if there is an injury, the next man up is Hayek and Tenorti.
We got to
And
get a veteran defenseman. We were talking about it on our show that we definitely could see someone going out at the deadline and getting a veteran defenseman. Could you,
I,
Joey?
I could, yes. And I think that if there's an injury, like within the first 20 or so games, I don't think Chris Drury would be afraid to pull the trigger immediately on a deal. Like
Why
I
would
think
you
he
wait
would
till the deadline when the
why
price
would you
is
wait
going
for
to go up?
yeah, you have a lot
True.
of you have a lot of time between that. It's early in the season. You don't want to lose too many points. Like Gallant wants to use all of his picks. For whatever reason, Hayek and Barkowski kept being out there. They were out there for what, 4 goals? 4 goals? Like, why do they keep getting out there?
They
Like, if
both
it's
got
not
an assist,
working,
too.
don't use them.
They both got an assist last night too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that means they're going to make the team, right?
Yeah, they're making the
bias.
team now, right?
Exactly.
My gosh. But yeah, they need to go after a 6th or 7th defenseman before they even think about going after Patrick Kane. But to my point from before, if it becomes like a Derek Brassard kind of situation, I was talking to Stat Miner, and shout out to HSM. The guy's awesome. Great follow on Twitter if you don't follow him. Knows everything about the salary cap. He was telling me that it is possible for like the Blackhawks to trade Kane at 50% retained to another team, let's say the Coyotes, and they retain 50% of whatever's left, and then they trade it to the Rangers. Now the return might be crazy. I don't know what the Rangers would have to give up to both the Coyotes and to the Blackhawks, but it will be significant.
Do you remember that like goofy like 3-team deal? It was like the Predators and the Avalanche, and the Avalanche just like essentially acted like
Senators.
a cap absorption for that whole deal.
Yeah,
And
Turris and
yeah, I'd be
Duchesne.
interested to see how we can profit off of. And I know that Drury has his hand in anything that's happening. You're always trying to butt your head in and see if you can do something about it also. So yeah, I think that's the only way it works, man. I think that, or like we talked about, him walking in the offseason and just signing a team friendly deal, which I mean, who could give Drury a bad grade if that's what ended up happening? You don't strip any assets, you don't lose anything, and then you end up still getting the guy afterwards. So I mean, unless it's something like that, a 3-way deal, something, him walking in the offseason, I just don't see it happening.
That first round pick, that extra first round pick they picked up this year is going to be incredibly valuable because of this year's draft class, from what I've heard. So that is a real asset. That's not like your average NHL draft class with, like, even if the Rangers give up their own pick, every guy that's in that class is supposed to be a solid prospect. And it wouldn't be out of the question to have that player that you draft be one of your top prospects right away.
And I could see the Stars pick. I could see them like drafting like and falling and not making the playoffs. So I think that pick could become pretty valuable.
Yeah, to the Rangers too. Yeah, to the Rangers, but yeah, and also to another team.
Yeah.
So
I could see us picking with both of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I could see it happen too, but I don't think Drury will be afraid to make a trade like that. If it becomes available that Patrick Kane wants to play for the Rangers and only wants to play with the Rangers, come over, play with Panarin again, rekindle that chemistry. If it becomes known and he won't take anything else, the Hawks might have their hands full. What are you gonna do? If you're a smart rebuilding team, what are you gonna do? Just let Kane walk, or you want to get as much back from him? If the Rangers offer you something, shouldn't you take it?
Well, they gotta let up one of those guys. They're both like expiring contracts with Taze and Kane. So unless they're keeping them around to fill seats there, like what I'm with you. Like when you trade them before they can walk in the free agency.
So, like, all right. So before I ask you, like, where you guys differ on that, because you were telling me before the show, before we started recording, that you guys are on opposite ends of the spectrum on Patrick Kane. But I think to the people that don't like Patrick Kane, all I'm saying, 20 games, playoffs, done. That's it. I don't need him past this year. Let Lafreniere go on the top line.
But we're not playing 20 games in the playoffs unless we're sweeping some teams, first of all.
Right. Well,
I want to go all the way.
No, I'm saying from the trade deadline.
Sure.
The trade deadline on.
100%.
That's like 20-something games, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little less than 20, and then whatever the playoffs is. Yeah, and hopefully we sweep some teams, because I'm getting sick and tired of 7-game playoff series. It seems to happen every single playoff run the Rangers have gone on since I started watching them.
Taking
every single series, yeah,
even in the 2014 run.
My gosh, and one 6-game series, not one sweep, not one. That's bothering me. But now I'll ask you guys, describe the spectrum in terms of Patrick Kane, like on your show, like how
I don't
you guys
want him. I don't think it's worth it. I know he's a great player. It's just not the time. I feel like if we were doing things like the Senators, really slow rolling things, giving our prospects the top time, acquiring a bunch of pieces that make you a more competitive team, I think it makes perfect sense. I think the way that we chose to rebuild, not the time to talk about whether it was right or wrong. Maybe it is, but I think the way that things broke out, we had a marquee free agent that wanted to play here. You have an elite Norris level defenseman that wanted to play here. So the manuscript was written, and even Gorton will say that. When you talk about all the prospect drama and you add in all these other wrinkles, people are going to have to get paid. And when you talk about who has to get paid, I mean, the list is long. It's Lafreniere,
Yep.
Miller, Kraftstoff, Hedel. We talked about it in one of our shows about how Hedel looks like he's going to be that odd man out. And there's just already cap drama to think about. So in my head, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Panarin obviously had that chemistry with him. So if you're looking for someone to slide in right away and, make a difference, sure. But unless we're talking a situation that we kind of briefly just described, where there's another team involved or another team that's willing to help and just kind of be that cap absorption team like the Avalanche, you'd have to pay them to do that. So it's like, is it worth, you talk about this draft class, is it worth compromising one of those amazing draft picks and setting us up for the next 4 years where we know we're going to be up against the cap, and now we have someone who's in a high level prospect that can slide into those roles? I feel like that's so much more valuable. We don't know the pressure that's on Drury to win. We have no idea from an organizational standpoint. But if it were me and I'm thinking towards the future and I know that I'm going to continue to GM this team for the next 3 or 4 years, in my opinion, you have to pick both of those unless it's a slam dunk trade. And especially what Joe said, if the Stars bottom out, I would be looking to keep onto that pick as long as possible.
I'm with you, Joey. If we could use him for a little bit. Yeah, character concerns. I don't like the guy for that hockey style. I like who he is, how he plays. This trying all these other guys out onto that right wing position is gonna get old. We have to find somebody up there pretty quickly, and stay with it, because you got to give that guy a chance too. You can't be knowing that someone else is in the background ready to take that first line right wing position. Barring that, I would want someone that would fill the position more permanently. So I go back and forth on the Patrick Kane thing. Would it be great for him to fill in 20 games before playoffs and then make a run with him? Yes. Character concerns. Don't like the guy, but if he's going to get us a cup, I'm for it. But not leveraging the house. I don't want to give up Kako and a first and a third round pick for him for a rental, because that's just too much. We're going to have to pay guys, and it's a balancing act. Yes, we are in our first window now to win, especially with some of these older guys like Zibbs and Kreider and stuff, mix and matching with the younger guys. But leveraging the farm, if the Canes are ready to, if the Caps space works for us, but I don't see. Do you really think a third team's going to get involved to help the Rangers out?
I don't think so. I don't. That's why I'm just floating out this hypothetical, this theoretical. Again, Kane has gone on record and said he wants to,
finish as a Hawk.
As a Hawk, yeah. But he also who wouldn't want to play for the Rangers? You know what I mean?
Especially right now.
With Igor makes people want to play.
He was pretty. From listening to Kane's comments, I read his comments about the DeBrincat trade. It caught him off guard, and he was pissed. To be honest, he was pissed that they traded him. He loved the kid. They played so well together. They traded Pat Panarin. They took away his guy. So he's got to have some sort of feeling towards those players to the organization. Maybe if he wants to leave, I think they're gonna grant him that. They will grant him that for what he won 3 cups for the team, for the Hawks. If the Rangers are the only team available, they could lowball the offer and get a third team involved. It's theoretical, so it's not gonna happen. I don't think it will. But if it does, I'm just saying, if it does, why wouldn't you make that deal? Why if it's a low ball like Matthew Robertson, a first, and Carl Henriksen, let's just say,
Yeah,
three-team trade.
that's fine, but like
It's not going to happen, but I'm
right.
just saying, if it becomes available, yes, you take that trade. I don't care who it is.
Sure.
And is Kane hungry enough? Like he's won a Calder, 3 Stanley Cups, a Hart. Like what does he have left to prove? Does he really want a 4th?
He wants to be in the Hockey
That's
Hall
why
of Fame for
Crawford
sure. He
retired,
already is
man.
going to
He's
be.
like, what do I have to like? Literally, that was the most like chilling article. One of the most chilling articles I've ever read. Corey Crawford just saying like, I might hang him up because what do I have left to do? Like
Right.
that. Yeah, I always was of the mindset that like, players are always hungry. You're a professional. You train your whole life for this type of thing. They're built different. But that was really revealing of how much we're all just still people. That how much drive is there for a guy like Kane? He also kind of to me represents that like cold confidence too. Like we don't have anybody with that I'm just gonna put the puck in the net because I feel like it. He has that sort of swagger to him as well. So I mean, yeah, would it be electric? 100%. And I forget which one of you just piped up and said who would want to help the Rangers. No, you want to help yourself. You want to join into that trade because you want to be like the Avalanche. Don't forget, the Avalanche got what ended up being a top 4 pick in Bowen Byram just for
Yeah.
being involved in that trade. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is profitable for sure to maybe you take that Stars pick and then the Stars drop in the standings. So I
Give
mean,
it to
the
the
team jumps in and
Coyotes.
grabs that.
Give it to the
That
Coyotes.
could be huge. So
Here's another question for you guys. How many teams do you think are on the rebuild spectrum? Like we got the Blackhawks, we got Arizona. Who else do we got?
I don't think Arizona can
Seattle.
rebuild, to be fair. I think
It might
Seattle's-
not even be a franchise in Arizona after in the next
Seattle,
couple
San
years.
Jose, I think. Anaheim and LA are past the building stage, I would say.
I agree.
What
I
else?
think there's only
think that
probably
where
like you can
we're-
count them on 5.
Vancouver?
they're
Vancouver?
getting
They
there.
don't
I
know what the
they
hell
didn't
they're
wanna
doing
give up
over
JT
there.
Miller last year for some assets to some teams, so it's like, when are they going to accept the
I'm
rebuild?
shaking my head at like Vancouver. Like they could be so much better than what they are, and they just aren't. It's just I don't know. Maybe Bruce Boudreau is the guy there, but I don't know. They're wasting one of my favorite players, and I still think the Rangers should have gone after Elias Pettersson a couple off seasons ago. They should have gone after that. That was when the Eichel talk or whatever. No. Go after Elias Pettersson. That was what I wanted. I didn't want Eichel. I wanted Elias Pettersson.
I didn't want Eichel either.
Yeah, so glad we didn't do that.
Right, for real. Like that was good. Also to add on to the Kane discussion, we also have to factor in we have Brennan Othman still. So if the Rangers were to make a trade for Kane and not give up Othman, well, then the Rangers could just let Kane go and then just plug Othman into the lineup the following year. And I think he could be served. I don't know if he could play the right side. He's a left winger.
I saw an article. He says he can, but I feel like that's any winger trying to make a team. They
Yeah, that's
always
true,
say,
yeah.
like, look at Laugh. He's like, yeah, I could play on the right, but we know he's naturally better on the left.
Right. So having Othman, we have an option to fall back on in the future in terms of top line spot. Like if everything works out with Kravtsov, if Lafreniere and Kakko play out of their minds this year, like they're supposed to be, let's be honest, they have to be playing this way. Like they have to be playing like the way they played last night. But like whenever, just doesn't have not like just when they're on the ice together at the same time. When they're separated too, like Lafreniere and Kakko need to be pulling their own weight. That's a simple fact. They have to do that. If the Rangers are
They
going
need
to
that off the ice chemistry a little bit.
Yeah. From what I've seen from Lafito Kakko, it's been great so far. And I tweeted last night that it seems like it's a punishment to Lafreniere, Kakko, Hedel for splitting them up. I saw people say, all right, split them up because the top 6 can't get it going. Why would you split up the top 6? Like the top 6 are the reliable guys, right? They're supposed to be the reliable guys. And the fact that they can't get it done says a lot about them and not about the kids. Like, why are you punishing the kids for that? Like that to me, why can't they coexist?
Well, you need depth, like 100%. And I can totally see the argument for both sides because at some point you need to stir it up and just change what you have because it's not working. I do see the potential for somebody on the kid line. Let's just call it Laugh just to keep it moving, but like that top bumper line role on that number 1 power play. I would love to see Laugh in there because it would let him get that time and that chemistry with those top line guys without having to be off of the kid line. It wouldn't put that we broke it all up type of pressure, I don't think. And it would let him get that little bit of chemistry. Once you start seeing a couple of those power play goals from him, from like, that brilliant like cross ice feed where they're showing to be some chemistry, then you change him up there, which I think would give you that like half in, half out ability to give him that line time. Also, you're rewarding his strong play. You know what I mean? And they had Kako on a penalty kill the other night. I mean, the more ice time, the better to get to really see what we have with these guys and to really get them comfortable playing with people that are not on the same line with them. And you can almost bet that the other penalty killer won't be Heedle. And if Laugh's playing on the top power play line, I think would give those two specifically some more minutes to be with some guys that they're maybe a little bit less comfortable with.
I think it would be extremely beneficial if Kako Lafreniere saw a little bit of penalty kill time this season. Like you already saw in preseason, Lafreniere made a great play and had a shorthanded goal on the penalty kill. Obviously shorthanded goal, I'm an idiot, but you see that. You see Kako out there. The more ice time, the better. I like that idea. Like you're giving them a new role, and it's like, all right, let me play as hard as I can. They're kids. They're gonna take the opportunity and run 100%. With it. Hopefully, I think that would just adds to their confidence. I'm not saying the entire year they have to play. Just in the very beginning, like last year, the Rangers, Gallant gave Kako penalty kill time in the first game, and then that was it. Really, like he had his stick off the ice and the Capitals scored on it. I guess Ovechkin scored on the power play. I can't remember.
He was in the Ovi office though when that happened, right?
Right. Yeah, and his stick was off the ice, and it wasn't good. It wasn't. Yeah, it doesn't count.
That's Ovi's office.
Right. I think you should get an extended look. Why not like 10, 15 games? Why not? You're going to rely on Trocheck, Goudreau, those guys to kill penalties for you. So why not try it out in the beginning?
Kako's defensive numbers are fantastic. They're fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that about him. I like that he's a good stick checker. I think he does well in the in his defensive zone, excuse me. And I'm excited to see like how he plays overall this year. We always say this every single year. Is this the season for Kako Lafreniere to break out? Is this the year they hit 40, 50, 60 points? This has to be the year. It has to be. I keep seeing people saying like, "Oh, trade Kako, he's a bust." Have you seen the way he is on the ice though? Like, he's just so smooth. I'm not ready to give up on that yet. But ask me that question at the end of this year, and if he doesn't have 40 or 50,
I might ask you at the deadline.
At the deadline,
it's not hanging behind me, but I have a Kako jersey. I'm a big fan. I've been on the bandwagon, and I can see an argument, because we talk about all this Patrick Kane talk. The biggest part of the conversation is cap space. You have to get rid of somebody. Does it make sense to get rid of a guy that's already making a decent chunk of change to make room for somebody like that? I think if we're competitive and he's not playing to his full potential, I think that's on the table. Does it happen? No, but probably not, at least. I think we were chatting just a couple days ago about Joe and I about how Heedle looks like to be the odd man out because he's never going to play more than top 6 minutes, or top 3 or third line minutes rather. Yeah. He's probably not going to get a chance on the power play because those center spots are accounted for. So, I mean, when you start to look at who we have and the players around these guys, the writing's on the wall. So how much space? I think the only thing that's really in his favor, Kako, is his position, because that's where we're the slimmest. You know what I mean?
The right wing, right side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to your point about like Heedle, I think the Rangers could mold him into that third line guy so that he's not asking for $4 or $5 million.
But what if he wants to be a second line guy or even a first line guy?
Well, obviously, you see the talent he has in front of him. He's got Zibanejad.
And the commitment. Those guys aren't going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
In 7 years, dude. That's our fucking top 6, man. That's
our
top 2.
It'll be up to Heedle if he wants to stay or not. So we'll have to see about that. We have
then do we lose him and like get nothing for when we have to pay him, or do we trade him when we still have some value there?
It's another question. That's another question too. But I think it's better to let if you have to let someone go for nothing, it's better to let Heedle go than Kako. Right?
At least publicly. Like,
Publicly.
who,
Okay.
like, I honestly am more impressed with Heedle's postseason. Like,
Oh yeah,
take draft class
yeah.
out of it, take position out of it, just talking about the player. I think Heedle really showed that, oh man, maybe there's another gear that we didn't see. He's also has the speed that Kako doesn't. You know what I mean? I feel like in a penalty kill situation, maybe it's that guy who's breaking down the ice and scoring a goal, because Kako getting the time on the penalty kill is going to be great. But is he going to be that Grabner guy that can turn those opportunities into offensive opportunities? I think it remains to be seen. But I do think that this year, of the 2 years at the bridge, is going to be the most important year for Kako, because either we figure out what we have, or the offseason comes around and he's no longer a Ranger. And I've also talked about the very real likelihood of him asking to leave, because it has happened now 3 times in the last few years. But
with prospects and stuff.
it's just the way I feel like it works when you have these lofty expectations. Think about how many guys we have that we've probably promised the world to, that come into this organization with, a really highly touted position in their draft class. But especially considering the picks that we still have and the guys waiting in the wings, it's going to be really tough to pay everybody. And, Keandre Miller is, I think, already more of an exciting player than Kako is and maybe will be.
Keandre's offensive play has excited me more than Capo Caco's offense.
Keandre Miller, out of Lafreniere and him, he should be the first to get paid, I'd say. Keandre Miller, and he should get paid literally right now, like as we're speaking.
I think it's so funny how quickly the conversation shifts. You're completely right that, we go from like who the guys that we are excited about to being like, oh my God, Keandre Miller. You know what I mean? That is going to be the home run and probably the saving grace out of that draft.
Steal at 22.
Yeah, but look at the other picks that we chose.
Very, very exciting pick at that 100%. Time. Like I, while watching Wallstrom highlights, Keandre Miller would always show up, and I was like, when we drafted him, I was like, oh, we got this guy. Oh, this is awesome. So this is great. And last year I talked a little bit about like how he was still trying to figure out defensively, because he's still relatively new. Was a forward for most of his life, and he's only got like 6-7 years of D experience. Like,
you wouldn't know it unless you were told.
You could not tell that.
Right. Now you can't. Now you can't. Guy's flying all over the ice. He's like one of the smoothest skaters I've seen.
Like, he's 6'3".
Yeah. Specimen. He's great. He's great. He checks off that size the size debate. It's like my quota for Ice Cold Takes now. It's like I have to mention the size debate on every single episode. Have you guys seen that on Twitter? People complain about like the size. Oh, this guy, we need Tenorti in the lineup because he's a big body.
Oh, come on, man. Here's the thing. Could Keandre play more physical? And I've said this about Kako. I mean, all these guys. Lafreniere. I mean, do you not like hockey?
I said I needed Keandre to play more physical.
I like it being football soccer, man. Come on.
He heard it was an Ice Cold Take. He took it.
I'm sorry?
No, Joey said that he asked Keandre to play more physical last year.
Listen, man, what does he? I mean, he does it a little, but like if there's any box you don't check, is that he's not that physical of a player. Yeah, the argument can be made that he does the same thing with his stick, and he's got a very good stick. He's got a very long, unpredictable stick. Like he can make up gaps that just don't seem like they exist. People feel like they have 5-6 feet of space with him, and there he is. If he was somebody who could surprise somebody and just drop the shoulder, my goodness. I mean, then in my opinion, he's completely a number one defensive player in this league.
His wingspan is about the size of the Holland Tunnel. Like honestly, like it's unbelievable. What he can't do with the body checking, he makes up for it on his with his stick checking. Last night he got beat to the outside. I know you're like,
dude, that's so funny. I'm choking on my spit.
I was trying to think of something like, I mean,
the wingspan of the Holland Tunnel. I'm gonna clip that for him.
I think he fights Crosby this year. We saw it buzzing last year.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome. I was at that game where it was at the end of the period. and they were getting
It
into it. I
kept
couldn't
happening
figure
all series. I was like, is this just not going to happen? When is this going to happen?
it went back to the regular season game. That regular season game was what I was at, and like at the end of the period, he was like chirping. He was like, I don't know, him and Lafreniere were ganging up on Crosby, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is like, there you go. There's another chemistry thing. Lafreniere and Keandre Miller, they're bromance. Like, even though Lafreniere's best friend is Sammy Blais, apparently, not Keandre Miller. But going back to what I was saying, last night Miller gets beat to the outside, and he just reaches so far behind him with his stick and knocks the puck completely free without taking a penalty. And it's just like, oh, he got beat, but it didn't matter because his wingspan and his stick checking ability made up for it. So it doesn't matter that he doesn't body check, even though he did do that towards the end of last season. And you guys remember, like, he almost in that Carolina series, he knocked someone on their ass, went of the other end of the ice, and almost scored a goal. I think
And
that
like
was
without
game
even
one.
trying. That's the
Without even,
craziest
yeah.
thing that when I watch this guy play, it's like I want to see the sports science of how fast he was able to like catapult another body that weighs 220 pounds and fly to the other end of the ice. I mean, he does make it look rather
It was
effortless. And I
natural.
think
It looked natural.
those long strides in combination of that smooth skating ability. I like that Mackenzie Weegar goal where he burns him to the outside. Kind of sticks
Oh
out in my head.
God.
And there was a few highlights last year, or even in that first preseason game. I believe Johnny Laz clipped it the moment where he just brushes the puck, fakes like he's going right, goes back to the boards.
Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't even score it, but it was that impressive of a highlight that he just, I mean, end-to-end rush, completely tricked the guy, gets around like 4 different guys and comes right to the net with a primo scoring chance. And then you mentioned, Joey, the forward ability in his career, that those little glimpses start to highlight because he doesn't panic when he doesn't pull a Gautier when he's coming in along the wing and has the puck on a stick.
Yeah.
He is a forward. He knows what to do with that. So when you combo that with his physique, and I mean, you mentioned the IQ later, maybe he's only scratched the surface there where like you said, there's still that adjustment to that position. So I mean, sky's the limit for Keandre. I think there's no player on our team that could have a better season than last year than Keandre. I think that either you look at most guys had a career year. So if there's any like huge room for improvement, I think Keandre is going to have a coming out party this year for sure.
Mm-hmm. His confidence is through the roof, and all I have to say to Coach Gallant, give him as much ice time as possible. Like, honestly, do not take anything away from him. If he's playing so well, even better than someone on power play 1, yank the guy off power play 1 and give Miller the ice time. Like, honestly,
Joe and I have already power play 2 that's a lock. Unless Trouba is just clapping them and they're going in.
Last night Trouba was man in the power play, and you could see it was just missing a little bit of something. And I exact same thought, Steve. I was like, just put Keandre to man that power play right there.
They look good, that second power play unit. I think if they score some goals, then they could get some more ice time. It'd be another weapon. But I mean, the biggest weapon is that power play 1. I mean, Kreider's advantage and Panarin and Fox. It's just that 4-player combination is just so deadly.
Well, it's hard to argue that they were doing really. I mean, we were like top 5 power play mostly all season
the
last
whole
year.
Season.
So it's really hard to argue when those guys are out there for a minute and a half to even give these guys extra ice. I mean, that's the other thing. These guys that I say prospects, they're players now, but these guys that we have on our team who would be getting top line power play time on other teams, it's just not the case. Our power play is one of the best in the league, period. So that's one of the hugest reasons, in my opinion, that they're not getting that time for what it's worth.
All right, couple last questions for you guys before we wrap it up. Jimmy Vesey makes the team, right? Is he starting out on line 1? Or are they going to go back to Goudreau? Or are they going to go with Blais? What are they going to do there?
I think he's fourth liner, but he's making the team.
Steve?
I think he slides a little. I think that right side is, I mean, you could put Cack on the top. You could put Kravy on the second. But outside of that, I mean, there's wiggle room. That you have the opportunity of a lifetime if you're VC to prove that you can score. He's scored NHL goals before, and I don't have the math in front of me, but he's had multiple seasons in this league where he's probably scored more than Kako has ever. So it's in my opinion, he's going to get that opportunity. And you can't look at the draft class and you can't look at the PTO. I think that he's going to, an NHLer is an NHLer. And if you're playing, you're getting the ice time. That's just the way the league works. So I think if he produces, which he has, he's going to get that time. Does he stay up there? I don't think Gallant's going to stick with a line for more than 10 games. I think that he likes the idea of rolling the same consistent 4 lines, but I think there's going to be juxtaposition the whole season. Especially if an injury happens, then everything that we're talking about, it throws the whole math off. So,
last question: does the kid line stay together all year, or how quickly does Gallant move on from that?
I think the kid line, kind of what Steve was just saying, is like it's intact until we need somebody up on that top line. Till somebody shows that they can't be stopped and they need to be up higher and get more ice time. But right now, every preseason game we've seen, we've all enjoyed the kid line. So I don't think it's going anywhere, at least for 10, 15 games, and we'll go from there.
Steve, what do we think?
If the kid line stays intact, the rest of it makes a lot of sense. VC's probably going to get that ice time like we talked about. Kravtsov has to get some confidence. But again, I feel like you can make the argument that Kravy slides down to that third line. You keep the chemistry that you have with Laff and Hedel together, and he starts to cash in on some of those opportunities because he plays a different style than Kakko does. We've talked about it as far as their chemistry and their play style. I do think that Kakko is more ideally suited on that top line. I don't think that him and Trocheck digging in the corner together and then us being outmanned the other way is going to be the best thing for us. Panarin also likes to kind of get lost. So I do have a feeling that we're going to see a wandering Panarin, Trocheck and Kakko lost behind the net and some bad opportunities go the other way. So for those reasons, I think that Kakko's play style suits him best for either the first or the third. If you keep that third line together, then what decisions are there to make? It's either Kravy or VC. Is it as bad as we're all talking about for VC to end up on the second line next to Panarin? Not if
I think VC's got more skill than Dryden Hunt. I think VC's
at least he's got more skill than Dryden Hunt because think about the line mates that we've seen already on that line. So then the conversation just becomes like, can they play good defense? I think Trocheck and Panarin can, because that's the only thing. That's the only knock really to VC. So now you're talking VC's in the top 6, but he's not in the top line. Kakko on the first. That's not the worst, but what's the alternative to Kakko on the first? Kravy or Laff?
Do you switch up the lines and bring Trocheck down to the third and get Hedel up there to like get a full mix?
I've seen people say do Panarin or not Panarin, Kreider's advantage at VZ kid line and then Trocheck on the third line.
Have the kid line be your second. Cool about Trocheck is his play style is very grindy, and he also has the offensive flair. I think there's an argument to be made. Maybe it doesn't happen this season, but maybe if we do make that commitment to Hedel, that there is some room for flopping back and forth, because I think that as a veteran, he wouldn't also be insulted by going down to that third line. And if you talk about wanting to have depth, that would really do it for us. Being that the kid line has shown that they are, at least right now, our best chemistry line. Are they going to be the highest offensive scoring line? Probably not. But at least they look like they have the best chemistry. So for right now, it seems like those are the guys to keep together. And until someone starts to score goals and someone starts to show that they're really that top line guy, I mean, you're just going to have to wait till Gallant lies to you and then tells you does the complete opposite thing next day. But
I don't know who VZ's best line mates have been throughout his career. I don't remember who he had on his team, on his line when he was with the Rangers the first time. But I'm pretty sure that he has never had a line mate like Panarin. So if that's what the Rangers end up going with, if they try him out on the second line like they did with Hunt, I don't think VZ's had a line mate like Panarin. Like
Strome has been upgraded, and then Hunt has been upgraded. So I mean, theoretically, it should be a better line.
It's a small upgrade from Hunt to VZ, I think. Like, I don't know. Well, VZ's got goal scoring ability. Hunt was more of a bottom 6 player. So yeah, it is an upgrade. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. It is an upgrade. That's it. No. We'll see what happens. I think it would be good to try that out. maybe in the last preseason game. We'll see what happens. But I was right on my prediction that VZ would get first line time, at least during the preseason. So maybe we'll be right again that he'll get second line time with Panarin and Trocheck for the last preseason game. But we'll have to see. I don't think it will happen, but maybe the first game. Who knows? But boys, it was a pleasure to have you guys on. We'll have to do
Thank
this
you,
again
Joey,
sometime.
for having us.
Joey,
Yep.
thank you so much, man. It was a blast.
Yeah, have a good one. Ice Cold
Let's go
Takes
Rangers.
listeners. Yeah, let's go Rangers.